Welcome back. I am Dr. Michonne. Today I want to have a serious conversation with you, one that I think a lot of health channels aren't having loudly enough. We're going to talk about 5 common, everyday foods that most households eat on a regular basis. Foods that are perfectly fine when handled correctly, but that once reheated can trigger biological processes in your body that silently accumulate damage over time. And if you're over 60, the stakes are significantly higher. Your body's defense systems are not operating the same way they did at 30 or 40. The margin for error becomes smaller, and the habits that seemed harmless for decades can start to catch up with you in ways that show up as inflammation, cardiovascular stress, cellular mutation, and cognitive decline. So today, we're going to count down these 5 foods, from concerning to critical, and I'm going to give you practical, science-backed alternatives and pairings so that you can make smarter decisions starting today. Because the goal isn't to scare you. The goal is to empower you with information that most people simply don't have. Let's start with number 5 on our list, and that's rice. Rice is a global staple. Billions of people eat it every single day, and when it's freshly cooked, it's a perfectly reasonable source of carbohydrates. The problem doesn't start when you cook it. It starts when you leave it sitting out. Because the moment cooked rice begins to cool and stays at room temperature, it enters what food safety experts call the danger zone, a temperature range where bacteria can multiply rapidly. One of the most important of these bacteria is called Bacillus cereus. And here's the part most people don't realize. Reheating the rice will kill the bacteria, but it will not destroy the toxins that the bacteria have already produced. Those toxins are heat stable. They survive the microwave, they survive the stovetop, and once they enter your body, they begin to irritate and inflame the gut lining. Now, for a younger person, this might cause temporary discomfort, but as the body ages, something important changes. There is a natural process known as intestinal weakening, where the protective barrier of the gut becomes thinner and less efficient. That means these toxins are more likely to pass through the gut and enter the bloodstream. And once they do, they don't just stay localized. They can trigger inflammation throughout the body, affecting the cardiovascular system, increasing stress on organs, and over time contributing to broader health issues. So what should you do instead? First, eat rice as soon as it's cooked whenever possible. If you plan to store it, place it in the refrigerator quickly. Don't leave it sitting out for hours. Second, if you reheat it, do it once. Only once. Never reheat the same rice multiple times. And finally, here's a simple upgrade most people overlook. Try cooking your rice with a small amount of turmeric and add a pinch of black pepper. This combination helps support the body's natural defenses against inflammation and can make a real difference over time. Now let's move on to number 4, chicken. Chicken is one of the most commonly consumed sources of protein in the world. It's lean, accessible, and when freshly prepared, it's an excellent option for supporting muscle health and overall nutrition. But the issue begins when chicken is reheated, especially at high temperatures or in the microwave. When chicken is exposed to heat a second time, its protein structure begins to break down in a different way than during the initial cooking process. And this breakdown leads to the formation of compounds known as advanced glycation end products, or AGEs. These compounds are not harmless. They have been widely studied and are strongly associated with accelerated aging at the cellular level. They contribute to increased oxidative stress in the body, which means more damage to cells over time. They also play a role in stiffening blood vessels, which can increase the risk of cardiovascular problems. And perhaps most concerning, they create an internal environment that makes it easier for damaged cells to survive and multiply. Now, this becomes even more important as we get older, because with age, the body's ability to eliminate these harmful compounds becomes less efficient. The liver and kidneys, which are responsible for filtering and removing waste, gradually lose some of their capacity. So instead of being cleared out effectively, these compounds begin to accumulate. And that accumulation can quietly contribute to long-term health issues. So what's the practical takeaway? Ideally, cook only the amount of chicken you plan to eat in one sitting. Avoid preparing large batches with the intention of reheating them multiple times. If you do need to reheat chicken, do it gently. Use low heat, preferably on the stovetop, and add a bit of water or broth to maintain moisture. Avoid overheating it or letting it dry out. And just like with rice, reheat it once, not multiple times. Now here's a powerful way to balance things out. Pair your chicken with cruciferous vegetables, foods like broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, or Brussels sprouts. These vegetables contain natural compounds that help activate your body's internal defense systems. They support your cells in managing oxidative stress and help counter some of the damage that can come from these harmful byproducts. It's a simple adjustment, but one that can have a meaningful impact over time. At number 3, we have eggs. And this one tends to catch people off guard because eggs have an excellent nutritional reputation, and rightly so. They're rich in protein, healthy fats, choline, and a range of vitamins. But reheating eggs introduces a specific type of damage that deserves attention. When eggs are exposed to heat a second time, the cholesterol naturally present in the yolk undergoes oxidation, forming compounds called oxysterols. Oxysterols are not benign. At the cellular level, they are directly toxic to endothelial cells, the specialized cells that form the inner lining of your blood vessels. In a younger body with resilient and flexible arteries, some degree of endothelial stress can be managed. But in older adults, arterial flexibility is already diminished. Adding oxysterol-driven damage to an already vulnerable vascular system meaningfully accelerates cardiovascular risk. There's also a cancer biology dimension here that's worth highlighting. Animal studies have consistently shown that oxysterols can suppress apoptosis, the natural, programmed process by which the body identifies and eliminates damaged or abnormal cells before they can develop into something more dangerous. Apoptosis is one of your body's most fundamental cancer prevention mechanisms, and it's a mechanism that naturally becomes less efficient as you age, precisely when you need it to be functioning at its best. The solution is straightforward. Always eat your eggs fresh. If you're in a hurry or need something convenient, cold, hard-boiled, or soft-boiled eggs are a smart option. No secondary heat, no oxidation. For an optimal pairing, serve your eggs with fresh spinach and a drizzle of high-quality olive oil. The polyphenols in extra virgin olive oil and the lutein in spinach work together in what researchers describe as a quenching effect. They neutralize lipid oxidation byproducts before they can cause cellular harm. Number 2 on our countdown is something that will genuinely surprise a lot of people: spinach and leafy green vegetables. Because spinach is celebrated as one of the most nutrient-dense foods on Earth, and it is. Raw or freshly cooked, it's exceptional. The problem arises specifically with reheating, and the chemistry behind it is alarming. Spinach is naturally high in nitrates. These nitrates are not inherently dangerous. In fact, they play a beneficial role in supporting blood vessel health when consumed in their natural form. But when spinach is cooked and then reheated, those nitrates begin converting into nitrites. And when nitrites reach your stomach and come into contact with amino acids in that acidic environment, a chemical reaction occurs that produces nitrosamines. Nitrosamines are not a gray area in the scientific literature. They are confirmed, well-established carcinogens. Multiple studies have demonstrated that reheated spinach can contain nitrosamine concentrations up to 400% higher than spinach that was consumed immediately after its initial cooking. 400%. And once again, the risk profile is significantly elevated for older adults. As we age, gastric acid production naturally decreases, a condition sometimes referred to as hypochlorhydria. And counterintuitively, lower gastric acidity actually accelerates the conversion of nitrites into nitrosamines. So the very population that needs to be most cautious is the one facing the greatest biological disadvantage. The guidance here is non-negotiable. Eat your leafy greens fresh, or immediately after their first and only cook. If you have leftover cooked spinach or kale or chard, don't reheat it. Eat it cold in a salad, blend it into a smoothie, or discard it. And for a meaningful protective pairing, combine your spinach with foods rich in vitamin C. Squeeze fresh lemon juice over it, add sliced bell peppers, or toss in some strawberries. Vitamin C intervenes at the chemical level and actively inhibits the formation of nitrosamines. And finally, at the top of the list, the number 1 food you should never reheat: mushrooms. And this ranking is not arbitrary. The science behind mushroom reheating is among the most compelling and least discussed in mainstream nutrition. Mushrooms have a uniquely complex protein structure, one that is inherently unstable when exposed to a second round of heat. When mushrooms are reheated, they trigger the oxidation of polyunsaturated fatty acids within their cellular composition. This oxidation process generates a compound called malondialdehyde, commonly referred to as MDA. MDA is one of the most extensively studied biomarkers in the field of oxidative stress research. It is a potent indicator of lipid peroxidation, essentially the degradation of healthy fats at the cellular level, and it is directly associated with DNA damage. Studies have shown that reheated mushrooms can contain MDA concentrations up to 380% higher than mushrooms consumed immediately after cooking. And here is where the danger becomes truly serious. MDA doesn't just float harmlessly through the body. It binds directly to DNA strands. When MDA attaches to DNA, it causes structural mutations, and those mutations, when they accumulate over time, are recognized precursors to cancer development. Now, in a younger body, DNA repair mechanisms are robust and highly active. The body detects damage, mobilizes repair enzymes, and corrects mutations before they can compound. But DNA repair capacity declines significantly and measurably with age. By the time someone is in their 60s or 70s, their ability to catch and correct DNA damage has been substantially reduced, which means that every avoidable source of DNA-damaging compounds matters more, not less. The practical solution could not be simpler. Mushrooms cook in 6 to 8 minutes. There is almost never a good reason to prepare them in advance and reheat them later. Cook them fresh, every time. If you happen to have leftovers, eat them cold. They're actually quite good in a salad or as a cold side. And for the most powerful nutritional synergy, pair your mushrooms with a quality source of vitamin D, wild-caught salmon, sardines, or a vitamin D3 supplement. Mushrooms themselves contain precursors to vitamin D, and when combined with D3, research shows they work together to activate natural killer cells, specialized immune cells that are among the body's most critical defenses against the proliferation of abnormal or potentially cancerous cells. So here is what I want you to take away from everything we've covered today. It's not complicated. It's not about following a rigid diet or eliminating foods you love. It's about understanding the difference between food that builds your biology and food that breaks it down, and making small, informed adjustments that compound over time. Rice, chicken, eggs, leafy greens, mushrooms. 5 foods that are genuinely good for you when handled correctly. The risks we've discussed today are not hypothetical. They are grounded in peer-reviewed science, and they are disproportionately relevant to older adults whose biological defenses are working harder just to maintain baseline health. But here's what I find most powerful about this conversation. Your body, at any age, retains a remarkable capacity to respond to the right inputs, the right pairings, the right preparation habits, the right timing. Small changes in how you treat these 5 foods could have a bigger cumulative impact on your long-term health than almost any supplement or intervention you'll find. Take this information, share it with someone you care about, and start making those changes today.